Hi there. Let's do a couple of exercises for Chapter 8, the waw-consective. This is the kind of stuff, whoa, weird stuff's happening to my computer here. Hang on. I might have to start it all over. That's not right at all. So I can do this in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail here. Properties. Yeah, wrong thing. Hold on. Right when I took my glasses off. There, that should be better. Right on. Okay. Exercises for Chapter 8. Just a few things. This shouldn't take too long. It really is about recognition. So we'll do a little bit of that. Let's flip right over to the book and take a look at a couple of the difficult ones. Why don't we? These first several are just basically, okay, look, here's the perfect, number 1. Number 2 is the imperfect. Number 3 is the perfect with a waw conjunction. Number 4 is a perfect with a waw conjunction. And then we finally, at number 5, get an imperfect waw-consecutive, which, as a reminder, is the preterite, the simple past tense. Okay, so let's translate number 1 through 5 just to show. Shama would be the perfect, and you would translate it like a perfect. He heard. Yishma, he will hear. Yishma, and he will hear. Shama, and he heard. But that really is no good at all, because the perfect is going to be linked or sequenced to what comes before it, and this is in a vacuum. We'll look at that a little bit more later on. And then Vayishma as he heard, as in the middle of a story. Okay, and a few more like that. So getting that. Number 10 is important because it shows an artificial accent shift. And that's where the Masoretes, who are not the authors of the Bible, you can look up Masoretes some other time, Masoretes, they actually indicated to you that this has to be read as a consecutive perfect. Okay. Let's see a little further. All right, now here we go. This is what I was talking about when I was saying recognition. Number 14 is a good example for that. Comment. I don't know why I took my glasses off. There we go. So what happens in the preterite is some of the old preterite forms come back that were lost, and you see them in the waw-consecutive imperfect, because the imperfect sort of took over the job of preterite. But on occasion, well, frequently occasion, there is an actual preterite. And they didn't want to change it all for the sake of uniformity. And what I'm trying to say is they left the wow plus the wah, the patah plus the doubling, in order to show uniformity. So even though there were preterite forms for storytelling or for narrative building, they kept this hybrid of this actual preterite plus the way they're doing the imperfect plus the waw-consecutive. See? Okay, so the recognition is you've lost letters, because if you analyze this, you see that the wow plus doubling is the waw-consecutive indicator, and then the tau is your preform for the imperfect. So you only have a shin and a beth left. Is it shuv or yashav? Well, right there is your clue. That's a seire that says, I am a first yod, first wow. This is yashav. Okay, just like that. Number 15 is kind of like it. It's trying to show you a handful of things. You've got a third hey verb in ya-asu, and you're going to see this patak thing, echo vowel. That's because you have a guttural lining you up at the beginning, right? And that's going to cause problems because this is a combo verb. So not only do you have a major variation in it being a third hey, but you also have this weird vowel collection at the front end because of a minor variation, the guttural, right? And number 16 shows you exactly what happens with a third hey. You have the indicator that you've lost a letter, and that's that move of the accent to become over the preform. So this is not pronounced vayas. This is pronounced vayas, okay? And then you're looking around here and you're being bumfuzzled by all these pataks, and these clue you into nothing, and that's your clue. These clue me into nothing. I must have a third hey. That's how you do third hey verbs. Okay, so a little more. Oops, that is no good. Let's go back. You can't use the pen to do that. It's too long a document. Right, so a little bit more of that on through 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Let's look at 22 for a second. That one you should just make a card for, like a vocabulary card. Whenever you see vayahi, it's just, and it came to pass. This is the call imperfect while consecutive of the third hey verb haya. Now, why it does this, nobody knows, but it seems to be a compilation of a handful of moves plus also Sprachgefühl, which means you can't get there from here. And that's why you make a vocabulary card for it. Vocabulary. Methu, remembering that this is a hollow root, stated verb, to be dead. Okay? And then the hollow root, the actual mater letter shows up in the imperfect. Gonna cough. Pardon me. Right in the middle of a pandemic, too. And here we have number 25 to help us out with hollow roots. You have the same clues you did with the third hey. Right, you've lost a letter. Which one is it? You look down here, you see accommates. That there is a hollow root. That is rule of thumb. That is not going to be violated. It's going to be the hollow root. Okay? And this is from Shuv, right? In the same test here, that's going to be a hollow root. Instead of it being a OU vowel, though, it's going to be an IE vowel with a yod as its root. And then this test, you're going to say, oh, look, it's another hollow root. But no, that's a sere. And so this is, again, the first yod, first vowel verb. See, I'm not even like working. My brain is not working at all, as you surely know by now. But that's I don't want it to work. I'm lazy. Be lazy. Learn these rules, and you don't have to do the work. See, a little more. Teledi, telekna, two forms, right? It's the feminine forms over on the plural side, and then here's yetanu. Some people stumble on this just a little bit, but don't forget about the verb nathan with the assimilating nun. Your clue in this case is the dagesh. That's not the preform, but the dagesh has been assimilated, is an assimilated nun. Right, so look for those clues. There's only a handful of them. A dagesh where it shouldn't be, the sere under the preform, the commates under the preform, and no clue at all. Those are your basic clues for understanding how to get the preterite forms identified in the call imperfect while consecutive. Right, aninu. Third hey, right? Don't panic about that stuff. If you're not, if for example, if you stumbled on 32, now would be a good time to stop and go memorize the Bana chart, the third hey verb to build. Just go memorize that. Remembering that you don't have to memorize it if you've got the rules about consonantal, light consonantal, heavy consonantal, and vocalic memorized. And the only thing you have to memorize with bana is the third feminine singular, which is banitha, banatha, and then the banitha, the heric yod comes in when the hey gets puts on the yod clothing with the consonantal endings. See, I don't have to work too hard for third hey. That's a little trickier and does require a few more calories, though. You do have to kind of do some thinking there. All right, so we're gonna separate the wheat from the chaff and write in Hebrew. So we have to do this at length. So the prophet proclaimed to the king. So I'm going to write that down for reference. Switch my screens. The prophet proclaimed to the king, because I can't monitor yet. If I get a grant for several $100,000, I can get a staff and also some monitoring software here. The prophet proclaimed to the king. And what did the king do? He probably didn't listen to the prophet. And the king listened to the message. Holy moly. Listened to the word, right? Okay. There's two ways to do this. The 99% of the time, the way you're going to see this is proclaimed is going to be the call imperfect while consecutive. However, since this is your first time, we're going to put proclaimed in the perfect, the call perfect 3SM. So remembering that the Hebrew language is verb, subject, object, that's what that's all about. I'm actually doing this verb is the first word I'm looking for. And then, of course, my goal is to get to that verb. So let's do this. Nice blue color. Proclaimed is kara. And since the subject is a singular masculine verb, I don't have to do any thinking. It's a third hey verb, or third aleph verb. The aleph quiesces. Hanavi. All right. And there's all the dots and tittles. Hanavi. So the prophet proclaimed to the king, let's use a lamed, I guess, prefixed to the king. My cloak and dagger, hey. Seglet, noun. And there you go. And the king listened. Now we do have to use a call imperfect while consecutive. And I can just do vaya and go from there because it's going to be listened, which is going to be shama. And it's going to be in the imperfect vi. Oops, I put the yod in the wrong place. I mean the patak in the wrong place. Yes, I can hear you yelling at me from here. Take it easy. It's a simple mistake. Vayish. And this is a third guttural, so you get a patak there. Listened to the word. I guess we'll use another prefix, lamed. La, because it's the definite article. La, da. That's a dagesh forte. Davar, a couple of comments, and there you go. So the key, of course, was this is in sequence with this. See? All right, so the next one, it's going to be the other way around, I bet. We're going to do a future. We're going to do a future, aren't we? The messenger will come, and he will do a very nice thing. The messenger will come, and he will give the silver to me, the child. We are all children in God's sight. I forgot to turn on my warmer. This is delicious coffee. It's a little strong. You know, it's late in the morning already, and I have some terrible allergies. It was so windy yesterday, and I went out in the woods to hunt for deer, and my core temperature dropped like a stone, and I haven't recovered. Okay, what were we doing? Oh, yeah. He will give the silver to the child. So, same game. It's verb, subject, object, so I'm looking for that verb and this verb. Those are the goals. That's what we're looking for. So let's get those on the table. Future tense. Don't learn it as future tense, but just for the sake of the exercise, understand that we have to use the future tense. It's about sequencing. The messenger will come. So this is a hollow root. That's the challenge to this one. And we use that. The root letter comes back, and we've got a comments here. Yabo, the messenger. Malak. Get all my dots and tittles in there. Malak. That's comments. Dot. There we go. He will come and he will give. So Nathan. Oh, I know Nathan. I'm not even going to bother with all the final forms and stuff. Well, actually, I do need a final form. Let's do this one in green just to show you kind of what the issue is here. Nathan. So Nathan is going to be yitain, right? But it's going to go through this process. Yin tone. Well, it's a first nun. So the nun will assimilate and disappear. Let's just make it disappear. And that will go with it. And this yod will bump on over. And the dagesh in the tau is an indicator that we had a nun. This O vowel, because it's Nathan, and there's no other rhyme or reason, will become a Sari. Yatain. Okay. And he will give. Now we need to go back to blue or whatever I was using. And how do you do it? It's just the conjunction. Yatain. Oh, I'm doing that all wrong, aren't I? So anyway, you could do it that way. But that would be a mistake. You're supposed to use the perfect. Let me have a little more coffee. All right, so Nathan. Final forms, Nathan. And then you'll get your wow conjunction. Rule of thumb says if a perfect has a wow on it as a conjunction, it's the wow consecutive. The silver. Kasif. That's a final form. To the child, definitely a lamed. The child, it's going to be a lad or a nar. Let's do a lad. Yelid. There we go. So that's how you do it. And that separates the wheat from the chaff when you take the time to write it in Hebrew. Okay? By the way, one of my favorite TV shows is a hunting show by Steve Ranella called Meat Eater. And the reason I like it so much is because he leaves his mistakes in, not just misses, but he can screw up and he leaves it in. And I don't know that it lends more authenticity, but it makes him less a TV star and more your pal, your friend. And that's why I leave my mistakes in. I could easily edit this out, but I'm not gonna. I'm lazy, as I mentioned before, and also I just think, you need to know Hebrew is tricksy, as Gollum would say. So let's look at translation of sentences real quick. These, I just don't see where you're going to go wrong until you get to let's look at number 4. I'll switch over to that. Let me show you number 4. Ada, sorry, that's the first yod, first waw verb, right? I will know. Now, some things to know about it is that this is something you would call a deictic particle. What's a deictic particle? Well, it just makes space. We have them in every language. You got to translate them somehow. But how you translate them is almost beside the point. As long as you understand, you've got something going on to separate out the sentence, right? It's something to bump over, and this is called indirect discourse in this case, because you have a verb of perception. Verbs of perception are like I see, I know, or actually in Hebrew, he sees, he knows, he feels, he thinks, he perceives, he understands, he says, and you follow it up with a key, which makes it the object of the verb of perception. So I will know that Yahweh will become God to the people, and I will live, and I will not die. Okay? These wows are in sequence to that verb. Okay? Remembering that the lamed for the become, where did it become from? That lamed attached to the haya verb. As I was mentioning earlier, Hebrew can be tricksy. Yeah. That's become. Excuse me. Allergies, as I was mentioning. Vayakom hanavi. Okay, so you have a hollow root here, and you know it's a hollow root because you see the comates, right? You got another missing letter, moved accent, and you've got your first yod, first wow, right? The prophet rose and he went to Jerusalem. Vayetze, ooh, lovely Sarai thing. So you got a first Jode first. Wow. The king went out from the house and a hollow root, and he entered to the temple or the palace. Vayitain. There's your Dagesh Forte, where it's not supposed to be, where it's now Dagesh Lene. It's first Nun, and he gave the silver and the gold to the priest. Vayaan, missing a letter. If you're missing a letter, you look for clues, right? And I see no commates, I see no Sarai, I see no clue at all. In fact, I'm quite confused by this run of 3 Potocks, and I go, aha, it's a third hay. Remember, Cloak and Dagger hay. He's out to get you. And if you can do that, when you feel utterly confused and you don't see these clues, right? Third hay. The prophet answered and said, you will die anyways, and you. Nah, I'm throwing in the anyways. Don't be confused, and you will not live. There you go. All right. Have fun, and I hope you enjoy Hebrew. And I'll see you in just a few minutes with lesson 9. Take care until then.